Welcome again to my tutorials for the Texas All-State Jazz Drums Etudes for 2020 and 2021. In this tutorial, I'm talking about Manteca, the Latin jazz chart. I mentioned in my talk about computer, the Bob Mintzer tune, just tuning down a little bit versus a bebop kit. Also, I'm using UV1 drum heads from Evans. They got a nice punch to them. They feel great, sound great. You could use, I've used like a coated G2, and you could probably do anything in between. I'm also using the Innovative Percussion ES2, ES as in the great Ed Soph, and the 2 is the Hickory version. If I understand, it was designed with big band in mind. In any case, I like the weight of the hickory sticks. The classic 5A would work well for me in this setting as well. Now, Manteca comes from Dizzy Gillespie's collaborations with Chano Pozo, the Cuban conga drummer. And some of the recordings also later were with Mongo Santa Maria on congas. And I think the listener is going to be looking to hear the typical cascara rhythm. So make sure you know what that is. I'll demonstrate it here. And also a little bit of the left hand playing that conga tumbao, a little homage to Chano Pozo or Mongo. So the cascara, I'll put it on the cymbal bell, and with the tumbao in the left hand, those two parts together. Actually, here's the cascara by itself first. 1, 2, 1, 2. And now with the left hand tumbao and a typical feet. 1, 2. Now, because of the electric bass, because of the riffs and the layers of horns in Manteca, there's another groove that you really need to know. You need to know this groove anyway. It's a nice, typical, multi-use Afro-Cuban groove for drum set. In this case, I'll play the cascara rhythm again. I'll put it on the hi-hat for now. And with snare and kick drum. Very particular kick drum and snare drum parts. So it goes like this: 1, 2. So you kind of need that kind of part going on at 17 in the tune. So what I chose to do was at 9, when the groove first comes in, I play the cascara with the full left hand conga tumbao, and then at 17, I stay on the bell, but I go to more of the snare kick groove, and I get a couple of the toms in there. I'll just play that phrase for you with the tune in mind. Okay, then at 25, that's the bridge. There are many versions, many recordings of Manteca. Some of them are like funky. Sometimes it might go to swing on the bridge. This chart is marked samba. Now it's definitely maybe more jazz Latin than Latin jazz, just meaning that it doesn't conform to a strict interpretation of samba or even Afro-Cuban. Particularly note the bass, what the electric bass is playing on the track, which I would call maybe like just a typical generic jazz Latin groove. Dom, beep, 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 dom, beep, 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 dom. A typical samba would emulate the surdo drum from carnival samba groups more. So the bass does kind of do that half note idea toward a couple of ends of phrases throughout the bridge. I tried a couple things. You could come up with your own sort of groove here, but it needs to contrast the main verses. And so I found that just playing a samba, playing a heartbeat samba rhythm on the kick drum, even though the bass player was not always there, seemed to work best to just lift the thing and have the right bounce. So I played a samba, not too heavy, not too busy with the hands. There's some hits going on throughout the bridge. Play the figures, set them up, but not too much. At measures 35 and 36, I played a little bit more of a bayou. I'll demonstrate what I mean. It fits catching the figures and also complements what the bass is doing just a little bit better. So that was something like this, two, uh, uh, uh. And also at measures 31 and 32, you can subtly and dynamically support what the bones are doing in that phrase. Now, at the very beginning of the chart, and then later a kind of recapitulation, 8 bars before 92, there is a piano montuno. And in that situation, the piano player is the drummer. He's playing rhythm and really dictating where the time is and also where the clave is. A word about clave in a minute. So you can play some fills or play some ideas that don't have to be strictly in time. Do set up measure 4. There's a hit in measure 4. And then 2 bars before 9, there is a written figure. You can play that because it's written in the chart, and it's up to you if you feel like, because evaluators are looking at the chart and you need to play that strictly as written, go ahead, no harm done. Musically, though, it's only showing you what the montuno rhythm is in the piano, and so you could really play something different. I played something complementary but a little bit different, but do catch the 2 figures in measure 8, which is the bombo note and the ponche, chaka right before you get into the groove. Speaking of the montuno the second time, before 92, I chose to play a little bit bigger fill, at least do something kind of marking the middle of the phrase there. And again, be stylistic. You can pull on the time a little bit. The piano is not going to go anywhere, especially being pre-recorded. And then you can set up the trombone entrance. Now, and of course, when that main theme comes back, there's a couple more figures in there, so you want to support those in your Afro-Cuban groove. In each of those verses, they end with this ba chicka ba chicka ba chicka ba ba. Find a way to keep the time and the flow going. If you have maybe your hi-hat with foot on the pulse and or a ghost note in there, it can keep the flow going like so. 2, 3. I kind of like to use a combinations of stickings, so I end up playing something maybe like this. 1, 2. And of course, play the dynamics. So last word about clave. There's no need to explicitly state the clave rhythm in the chart. And cascara does that, for example. But in case you need to reference it, it is a 2-3 clave. And the phrasing starting with a downbeat, for example, in that piano montuno or in the main theme, is a giveaway. Ba 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 da ba da 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 ba da ba ba da ba ba da ba 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 da. So go do lots of listening and also learn about the historic kind of origination of Latin jazz with Dizzy Gillespie's work. And I'll see you in the next one.